All right, so I just installed a 36-volt Altera trolling motor on my bay boat, and now I'm going to put in a charger that's going to keep everything running smoothly. You know, that's something in the bass boat world that's been around for a while. These big giant trolling motors that have an onboard charger, but it's kind of new to saltwater because we're just now really getting into the point where we're using spot lock and a lot of different features on big trolling motors to hold over specific spots in saltwater fish. In order to do that, you have a tremendous demand on your batteries, so you need to charge them correctly and maintain them, and this is the best charger in the world to do so. It maintains a constant charge regardless of how much voltage is coming through the line, regardless of temperature, regardless of humidity. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we'll talk about that's built into this charger, but for today I want to show you a little bit about how to put it on. We're going to have to run some extension leads to get to all our batteries in the center console boat, and then talk a little bit more about how to maintain the batteries and why this is so important. So, installation of the MK460 PC on a bay boat. All right, so we've unpacked the charger, and before I jump in the boat, I wanted to show you, I'm going to have to extend these leads. I know that from previous history rigging these boats. And because of that, it's very important that if you go to extend these leads, that you do it properly. What you're essentially going to do is you're going to need to cut the junction between where the wires actually split into two, between this V-shaped connection and the fuses. This is the part you want to extend. You want to make sure that you keep these fuses intact and you keep this intact. Never cut down here below this. Always do it out here. If you can get it, a charger extension lead kit like this directly from Encota is the way to go, because it's got everything all included. So what we'll do is we'll just snip here and hook this up. So the important part is to remember where you cut it, which is in this region. Stick to heavy wire, 12 gauge wire or heavier, and don't get longer than about 15 feet, and you can extend these leads. All right, so I figured out where I want to mount the charger, and it's back here in this corner. There's a real nice spot back here, a good flat shelf, and the back of the boat back here is the best ride. This is a pretty heavy piece of equipment. You definitely don't want to mount it somewhere other than in a real stable spot. The other thing to remember is all my batteries are up in my center console area, and that's kind of an enclosed area. I like the charger to be somewhere where there's a lot more ventilation, and also never mount it directly above your batteries, because as you charge your batteries, the gases they give off can corrode this charger. So even though this is super sealed up, totally waterproof the whole bit, find a good stable ventilated spot for it, kind of over by itself, and you'll be happy you did it. It'll last forever. All right, so I took my wire pulling tool and I stuck it through here to establish my little lane where I'm going to pull the wires through, and I went ahead and got some pull-through ropes rigged up so I can go ahead and start pulling these through to get them to the battery terminals. In this case, I think I've got a lead or two that's going to be long enough, so I went ahead and took the fuses out to make them a little more streamlined, and I'll tape them to these pull-through ropes and pull them through. One thing though that you can use that'll really make your life a lot easier if you have one, that I use all the time for projects like this, is this Aquaview. It's got an infrared camera built right in, so I could stick it down in here and I could be looking like this, and I could find my little lanes and my little channels of where it is I want to pull my wire. So if you have one of these or have access to one, they are really worth their weight in gold for these projects. The extension leads are run from front to back because they're easier to pull through that way, and these are the two leads that will be extending. Again, I'm going to cut after the Y junction. This is actually a temperature control module. I'm going to cut after that between there and the fuses, and we'll go ahead and extend this from there. All right, so we got the wires all tucked in, all bundled together. This is nice because this boat has little slots where you can stick your zip ties and hold everything back here nice and neat. So we've got everything accounted for, all that extra wire when we spliced in. Now it's just a matter of hooking up the batteries and then choosing the type of battery that we will be charging on each terminal. All right, with the charger installed and all the batteries hooked up, now we're going to power up the charger for the first time. And this is pretty important because each one of these stations has the ability to charge several different kinds of batteries, from a traditional flooded battery to an AGM, and you need to select that when you go to use the charger the first time. In my case, I went ahead and labeled all my batteries so they correspond with the lead coming to them, and I know that my fourth battery, my battery number 4, is my cranking battery, and that's an AGM. So when I go ahead and fire this thing up, it's going to default to a traditional flooded wet cell battery. So in order to switch to AGM, I just basically hold in the battery selector, which is the same as the number. That's important to remember because every kind of battery charges a little different. That's called their charging profile, and an AGM requires a little different voltage and things than a flooded wet cell. So you want to make sure they correspond correctly, and this charger allows you to do that. All right, now I fire up the charger and it shows me what battery type I'm on, and there I selected now I'm on AGM. Then everything resets, it goes back down. It shows me my charge level, which of course is low because it just started charging. All right, so everything is charging up well. I can see here that my batteries are already coming up because they were fairly well charged before I plugged them in. But the charger's installed. It's in a nice, safe, secure spot. Everything's bolted down. We've got the right kind of battery selected for each individual terminal. And it's just a matter of time of just letting it do its job. This charger will charge up faster than anyone on the market. It'll hold your batteries at the perfect optimum level, and it can do so with a bunch of different kinds. So that's super important when it comes to this kind of new wave fishing, when it comes to saltwater stuff, where we're going out and holding on these rock piles and letting the big trolling motor do the job, keeping everything tip-top shape when it comes to battery performance. You will be blown away by how long you can get out of a good set of batteries if you keep them topped off with water and you keep them charged all the time correctly. Now we just have to mount this little piece, decide where we want to put our plug. That's the last step. Right now, we're charging everything up with the MK460.